Hello and welcome to New Mexico Rising. My name is Dan. You know, each and every week I try to bring people from across the country to talk to me about things we can do right here in New Mexico. On this week's show, I got Red Forman.
Thank you for having us.
Having a little trouble hearing you, Dan.
You have Oktoberfest coming up. There are big holiday celebrations like fireworks at the beach. The downtown historic district has a huge 300-plus drone laser display.
There seems to be an interesting part of the American car buying psyche that says, I need that third row in my SUV, even though I drive by myself or with one other person most of the time.
All of that and more right here on New Mexico Rising. Since it's already Labor Day weekend, does not mean it's the end of travel season. So here with some adventurous, spontaneous inspiration is author and travel expert Megan Kaiser, who is teaming up with Visit Galveston, an amazing vacation destination on the Gulf of Mexico. You know, Kaiser is the author of Everywhere for Nothing, Free Travel for the Modern Nomad. Let's welcome her to the show. Megan Kaiser, how are you?
Hey, Dan, I'm great. Thanks for having me.
All right, so why is it important to research travel destinations?
Well, whether you're doing a budget trip or traveling for free, which is what my book is about, or something more traditional, which is I know what most of us do, it all starts with research, right? You still want to see the sights, eat the good food, do all the things, and you don't want to come home and realize you missed the coolest thing to do in the place that you just were. So it all starts with research. Research is how I found out about where we're going to talk about today, Galveston.
So tell us about Galveston. I've never been there. What should we know?
Well, it's an historic beach town on the Gulf of Mexico, yet it's in Texas. It's just 45 minutes south of Houston. So quick drive from Houston Airport, plus half-day drive from major Texas cities like Austin, Dallas, or San Antonio. You have year-round island life here, but it's especially inviting in late summer and fall. I mean, some people forget or they don't even know that Texas has these great beaches, and Galveston Island is definitely where you should start.
So what can visitors really expect to find out there?
Well, whether you're going for a last-minute trip here in September or October, really any time of year, there's always something going on. You have Oktoberfest coming up. There are big holiday celebrations like fireworks at the beach. The downtown historic district has a huge 300-plus drone laser display. Plenty of other festivities throughout the fall and rest of the year. And with summer, you know, technically over, almost over. Autumn in Galveston is like second summer, but they call it local summer because you don't have to deal with the crowds.
There's also pretty interesting history out there, isn't there?
Absolutely. I mean, just walking around the historic district, there are museums, galleries, boutiques, eateries, so much to do. Then there's the seawall. You can find delicious Gulf Coast cuisine, beautiful view of the water. I mean, shopping and eating are year-round endeavors. Galveston Island will not disappoint there. But for the history buffs, it's also the birthplace of Juneteenth, where June 19th, 1865, enslaved people learned that they'd actually been freed. Then you have among the museums, there's the Bryan Museum. It's the world's largest collection of items related to the South and Southwest. So plenty to check out there.
So what are some of the things that whole families can do in Galveston?
So much. So we can start with the iconic emblem, the historic Pleasure Pier, 16 rides, midway games, delicious carnival-style food. It's so much fun. But there's also the incredible Moody Gardens. It's a 240-acre attraction. It has these 3 huge pyramids jutting up into the sky, and one has an aquarium, one has a rainforest. There's interactive discovery exhibits. You can see this Heights Park. It's super fun. Golf, island time. And Galveston Island's also the 4th busiest cruise port in the country, so you can top off that vacation with even more travels if you want. You know, just get on island time, hang out at the beach, play that golf, check out the restaurants. There's plenty to do.
Megan Kaiser, thanks for joining me this morning. Where can we go for more information?
For everything I talked about, just head to visitgalveston.com.
Thanks for joining me, my friend. It's time to head back to Point Place, and today we're joined by Kurtwood Smith, returning as the unforgettable Red Forman, and Callie Haverda, who's been stepping into the shoes of, well, of course, her name is Leia Forman, Red and Kitty's venturous granddaughter. And we're going to explore what's in for these characters as they navigate the 90s and basically when I grew up as a teenager as well. Welcome to the show, you two. How are you?
We're good.
We're good.
Yeah.
All right, Red Foreman is such an iconic character with like a tough yet lovable exterior. How do you think Red is evolved in this new season, especially like the new generation of kids in the house?
Well, I think that we see a softer side of Red just because, Red has always been nicer to the girls on the show, even back in the 70s show, than he was towards the young men. And since this is his granddaughter, I think for the most part he's in a pretty good mood. Of course, the problem is when they make mistakes, then he feels personally responsible, and so he goes after them pretty strong when he has to.
And Kelly, of course, you're named Leia, like Princess Leia. She's navigating a life in the 90s pretty much like her parents did in the 70s. How is playing Leia allowing you to like explore these awkward teenage years in such a nostalgic setting?
Oh my goodness. Well, it's funny for me because obviously I wasn't alive in the 90s, but it is weirdly nostalgic working on the show. For me, like, I am, 17 years old. I started on the show when I was 14, and so I have kind of like grown up with Leia and have experienced those awkward years myself. So a lot of the stuff on the show is very relatable. And even though I'm currently experiencing those things, it's also nostalgic because I'm like, I'm going to be able to look back in like 10 years and watch the show and be like, wow, I was going through that while Leia was going through that. So it's very bizarre.
It's very bizarre to me to hear her say that she wasn't around in the 90s.
You're basically covering my adolescence growing up, so it's pretty nostalgic for me. When we dive into season 3, what are you guys like most excited that some of the fans are going to see, and how do you think that's going to stand out from some of the previous seasons?
Well, I think that I think we have some great guest stars coming up, and I think people can always appreciate that. Wayne Knight's going to be on the show. Seth Green, Will Forte. We have several people I'm forgetting, but plenty of people to look forward to.
I want to thank you guys for joining me this morning. If you want to check out the 90s show, it's available now on Netflix. Thank you guys for joining me this morning.
Thank you.
As the automotive world shifts towards an electrified future, choosing the right vehicle has never been more crucial. So joining us today is James Bell, head of corporate communications at Kia America, to help us navigate the road to electrification. With nearly 20 years of experience in the industry, James is here to break down the differences between hybrid, plug-in hybrid, and all-electric vehicles. He's bringing us some insights on how to make the best choice for your driving lifestyle. So let's welcome him to the show. James Bell, how are you, my friend?
Hey, playing with cars, talking cars, it's a good day. If you told the 10-year-old me I'd be doing this for a living, he'd be very pleased.
All right. So there's so many options available. Like, what should consumers consider when buying a new vehicle, my friend?
Super simple. Stop and think about what you're actually going to do with that vehicle. There seems to be an interesting part of the American car buying psyche that says, I need that third row in my SUV, even though I drive by myself or with one other person most of the time. I need that off-road suspension because I'm driving to Costco. These are all nice to haves, but not need to haves. And I think if people are really honest and sit back and say, what am I going to do with this next vehicle? How many people are going to be with me? How many miles am I driving? It gets real simple. And the move to electrification, to use a bad cliche, the switch has been flipped. It's happening. And I think shopping for a car in 2024, when you stop and think about what you're going to really need the vehicle for and how you're going to use it, finding the electrified option becomes pretty simple.
So what are some of the differences between like hybrid, plug-in hybrid, all electric models and ICE or ICE?
Yeah, so we'll start there. Well, ICE, that's just internal combustion engine. So basically a standard gasoline-powered car like we've had for 100 years now. A hybrid vehicle just basically takes that gasoline-powered car and then adds a small battery pack to it, so it can run under most in most situations as a full electric car. So come up to a stoplight, engine turns off. Take off from the stoplight, runs on battery power until you get to a certain speed. Then the gasoline power kicks on. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. Probably actually the really best of both worlds would be what's called a plug-in hybrid. That is just like a hybrid vehicle, but it has a larger battery installed that you can actually charge off a 110 outlet in your garage or through a extension cord out to your driveway, and it will charge overnight just like your cell phone does. And then that next morning you leave the house, you've got probably 40-45 miles of pure electric range before that gasoline engine turns on. So the average American drives about 30 miles per day, and I've got a plug-in hybrid that gives me 40 miles of free electric driving every day. As you can see, you're very rarely going to the gas station. So that's a great choice. And then where the industry is going, where the future will be, is in full electric. These are vehicles that don't have gas tanks, don't need oil changes, just basically huge battery packs with a steering wheel and four wheels. And you live a really unique life because you never have to go to the gas station again. You never wake up and running late for work and say, now I got to go to the gas station on the way there. It just relieves so many pressures. It's a much more luxurious life. But again, you've got those three ways to get you into the electrification game.
So how can customers, let's just say, ease into electrification?
Again, I think it's all about sitting back and looking at your lifestyle. If you're the type that, on a Friday night says, load up, let's go to grandma's house or let's go to Vegas, then probably a hybrid version is the best for you. If you're just kind of commuting around town, on occasion have longer drives, then a plug-in hybrid would be best for you. And if you're ready to go all EV, which by the way, I'm going to assume most people who are listening to us right now are, I think of my wife, she drives about 5 miles per day. Why she has a gasoline powered car is beyond me. She is a perfect candidate for electric vehicles. So I think that's the best advice. When you stop and think about what you're going to do, the choice becomes very simple.
So what are some of the important features to look for when shopping for some of the latest electrified models?
I think first off, it's design. Because of a full electric vehicle does not have the gasoline engine in front. You can get some really innovative and interesting shaped machines. The interiors can also be maximized because you don't have the powertrain components kind of taking some of the interior space. So I think design is the first step. The next one is just, again, how you're going to use the machine. I know I've said that a couple of times now, but most people don't do that. They think, what brand do I like? What my friends think is cool. What can I buy that I don't need? If you really stop and put it into what you really need and how you're going to candidly use it, it becomes pretty simple.
James Bell, thanks for joining me this morning. Where can we go for more information?
Oh, that's easy. Please go to kia.com. And by the way, we have a special section on the website there where you can plug in your particulars, how you're going to use a vehicle, and help you find the best electrified option.
James Bell, thanks for joining me once again, my friend.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Nearly 8 million children in the United States live in a household that are headed by a grandparent or other relative. And in these grandfamilies, there are some unique challenges, from rising costs to assessing medical care. September is Grandparents Appreciation Month, and joining us now to discuss from United Healthcare is Tamika Smith. Welcome to the show, Tamika. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so why is it so important for us to recognize and appreciate the role grandparents play in our families?
Grandparents play an important role in helping to raise healthy, happy grandchildren. I know as a grandmother of 5, the role that I play in my grandchildren's lives is vital to their success each and every day. To commemorate Grandparents Appreciation Month in September, United Healthcare is celebrating and supporting grandparents and grandfamilies by providing educational resources to help establish lifelong healthy habits.
So are there any resources available to kind of help grandfamilies thrive?
Yes, there are. United Healthcare is supporting families through whole person care, and we're pleased to partner with local communities to bring resources to families, including our Grandfamilies Guide to Good Health, which provides families with tips on how to prepare healthy meals, how to make healthy meal choices, as well as how to save money on groceries, given the rising costs. There's even a preventive care checklist that reminds families on how to take better care of themselves while also enjoying family time.
So how can grandparents make sure they're taking care of their own health as well?
As a grandparent, taking care of your family can mean taking care of yourself. You want to be there for those you love. United Healthcare offers a United Healthcare Dual Complete Plan, also known as a Dual Special Needs Plan, for people who qualify for both Medicaid and Medicare. For instance, our United Healthcare Dual Complete members get a monthly credit to help pay for healthy food, utilities, and even over-the-counter products like first aid kits, pain relievers, and common household items like toothpaste with the United Healthcare U-Card. With our Dual Complete Plan, members are eligible for $0 copays for covered prescriptions, dental services, routine hearing and vision exams. And what I love even more is members have access to a large network of Medicare Advantage providers, including doctors and specialists that are important for grandparents as they're taking care of their own health.
Tamika Smith, where can we go for more information on this?
To learn more about our and to check if you're eligible for a DSNP plan, visit grandparentsday.com. We also have an event right there in Albuquerque on September 21st at 10 a.m. So from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at South Valley Economic Development Center on Isleta Boulevard Southwest. Please come and join in the fun and help us celebrate our grandparents.
Tamika Smith, thanks for joining me this morning, my friend.
Thank you. Take care.
Over the course of the average year, each American spends about 70 days looking at their phone. And what annoys us most is when our devices run out of power. Even more, it's when there's a sudden power outage in our homes. Well, lifestyle reporter Kia Malone has some of the latest ways to ensure you have all the power you need, no matter where you are.
You're away from home and you get that dreaded sign from your devices, low power. Lifestyle reporter Kia Malone says don't worry.
Lion Energy has the answer with a 3-in-1 handheld wireless charger and USB power bank, the Lion Eclipse. You don't need multiple cords. You can use it on an airline flight, and it's super fast to recharge. So you can power multiple devices when you travel, at home, at work, or wherever you go.
And if Mother Nature causes the power to go out at home?
The Lion Safari is a portable lithium battery powered generator that can power virtually anything you normally plug into the wall, like appliances, TVs, communication devices, even your fridge. It's safe and silent, so you can use it indoors. And if you need more power, the larger Lion Sanctuary can power your whole home. Lion Energy offers safe, silent, renewable sources of clean energy at your fingertips to give you power where and when you need it.
For more information and to find a dealer near you, go to lionenergy.com/TV.
September is National Atrial Fibrillation Awareness Month, and it's hard for me to even say that. And with AFib, easier to say, affecting 1 in 4 adults over 40, it's crucial to recognize the signs and understand the risks. So here with us today is Dr. Jennifer Caudle, board-certified family medicine physician, sharing insights on why AFib is often missed, some of the warning signs to watch for, and how you can take charge of your heart health. Welcome to the show, Dr. Caudle. How are you?
I'm good, and thank you so much for having me.
Okay, so what really is AFib, and how common is it?
Sure. Well, so you did fine with pronunciation. I know it could be a mouthful. The full word is atrial fibrillation. We call it AFib for short. What that is it's a heart rhythm abnormality. What that means is that your heart beats irregularly, okay? It doesn't beat evenly, it beats erratically, irregularly, and sometimes even fast. And the thing about that is not only can that cause some symptoms in some people, et cetera, but it can also raise your stroke risk by 5 times the national average. That's a big deal. And I'm really glad we're talking about this. I'm excited to partner with Amron Healthcare because September is AFib Awareness Month. And so this is really the time, all year is the time, but especially this month to really talk about this.
So what are some of the biggest misconceptions about AFib?
So misconceptions. Well, let's talk about them. First of all, not a lot of people know what AFib is, which we just talked about. But let's also talk about symptoms, which you might ask me about later, but I'll jump into here. A lot of people don't understand that with atrial fibrillation, you can feel dizzy or lightheaded. You can feel fatigued. You can feel like your heart is beating out of your chest or beating irregularly or hard or fast, just not feel well. But the other thing that people don't often know is that you don't have to have symptoms at all. Some people don't have any symptoms. And I would say, in addition to that, people don't understand the stroke risk, right? One of the big reasons why we're talking about this is because the risk of stroke goes through the roof when you have atrial fibrillation. That's why Omron Healthcare has their Going for Zero campaign. Really, we're going for zero heart attacks and strokes, and this falls within that. So that's what a lot of people don't know, along with risk factors. If I could just take an extra moment, people don't understand that age, and you mentioned this, as we get older, the risk for atrial fibrillation gets higher. High blood pressure is a risk factor for AFib. Sleep apnea, alcohol consumption, family history, underlying conditions, all of those are risk factors.
So why is AFib often missed or misdiagnosed?
Yeah, so this is the thing about AFib. Sometimes it can be tricky, okay, because this irregular heart rhythm that people have, AFib, sometimes they have it all the time, which means that anytime a doctor puts a stethoscope on your chest to listen to your heart, they're going to hear the irregularity. But some patients only have that irregularity every now and then. And unless you're listening at the exact time that that heart irregularity is happening, you may not find it, okay? That's why I recommend as a family doctor doing a couple of different things, right? So sometimes it's not seen right away. So what do? Number one, you got to see your doctor regularly, not just for sick visits. As a family doctor, I deal with sore throats and colds and flus and all that kind of stuff, but not just for sick visits. Come to see me for a preventive visit, a physical, because I'll tell you, there's a number of patients I've diagnosed AFib on because they came for their yearly physical and I listened to their heart and it was abnormal. And I was like, whoa. So I get an EKG and I'm like, you have AFib, right? So see your doctor to get that once over check. Second thing is listen to your body. If you have abnormal symptoms, you feel weird, funny, see your doctor. And the third thing is think about tools you could use at home. Omron Healthcare, I mentioned that high blood pressure is a risk factor for AFib. Omron actually has not only blood pressure monitors, which I've been using for years, but they have this new device called Complete, which is a blood pressure monitor and an EKG all in one. That's for home use. So this might be a great option for many people as well. So those are some things that we can do, but that's often how we find it, through people's symptoms, checking out someone's heart, et cetera.
So what are some of the warning signs about AFib?
Yeah, so the warning signs are some of the things we talked about. I knew you were going to ask me that again, and I'm so glad because I like to mention it twice, right? So that people who are listening, I always say, say things 3 times and we're probably more likely to get it. So this is great. Warning signs can be like that shortness of breath, can be that fatigue, can be feeling like your heart's going to beat out of your chest. It might feel like you're having palpitations. You might feel anxious. That can actually be a symptom of AFib. Other things as well. But remember, not everyone has symptoms of atrial fibrillation.
So what are some of the ways that patients can communicate with their doctors about potential AFib and reduce some of their stroke risk?
Yeah, so that's the name of the game here, right? Is communicating with our doctor, seeing our doctor for regular checkups, communicating with our doctor, and then the risk factors. So, for example, high blood pressure is a risk factor for AFib. So what's important there? Making sure that we are keeping our blood pressure in control, that we're checking our blood pressure at home with a blood pressure monitor, that we're working with our doctor with lifestyle changes, medications, what have you. Treating our sleep apnea if we have it, and sort of really, doing all those other things that can minimize our risk factors, minimizing alcohol, et cetera. So there's a lot that can be done. And I should also say that you can live a long, healthy life with AFib. You can lower your risk of stroke by being treated, et cetera. So I don't want people to feel like all is lost if they're diagnosed with atrial fibrillation.
Dr. Jennifer Caudle, where can we go for more information about any of this?
Sure. I recommend that you go to omronhealthcare.com. You can learn more about tools you can use at home, but also you can learn more about atrial fibrillation there as well.
Thanks for joining me this morning.
Thank you.
All right, my next guest made me absolutely fear international travel. He hung out with a bunch of inglorious, I don't know if I can say it on morning television, let's just say guys, all right? And he knows about real estate where there's an unusual house with a clock on its walls. Let's welcome to the show, Mr. Eli Roth. How are you, my friend?
Good, man. Good to see you.
All right, so you're here with your brand new movie, Borderlands. And it's about the video game. Can you tell us about your jumping into the world of Borderlands and what pulled you into this project?
Yeah, look, I love big, crazy, insane sci-fi movies. I've always wanted to do one. I mean, I grew up on Star Wars, Escape from New York. I love Fifth Element. I love older movies like Barbarella, just stuff that's completely bonkers, but that takes you to another world, another planet, real world building. And it was great. They came to me about making the film, and I knew the games. I wasn't good at the games, but I knew them. And I really just loved the world and thought it really meshed with my sensibilities. The game is obviously a very violent game, but they didn't want to do that with a movie. We wanted a movie that, like, if you were, for the 9-year-old kid in me, if you have kids that are 9, 10, 11, they're going to go see it and lose their minds. So something that was really for all ages. And it was just totally bonkers and fun, and we had a great time doing it.
I'm curious, how was it working with like Randy Pitchford, the CEO of Gearbox, to try to like bring these characters to life? Were there any tough compromises that you had to make as a director to kind of try to stay true to the game and dealing with, it's tough to probably meet fan expectations?
Well, Randy is amazing, and I love him. And Randy was the first person I talked to. And, that was one of the things we talked about is what do we want to keep true to the game and what are we adapting? And not just doing a recreation, but doing an adaptation. And if you start to stay too slavish to certain elements, it's not necessarily going to work in a movie. And he said, no, don't worry about changing stuff. If you want to change things, change it. He goes, the guns, we want to be exact. The costumes, I wanted the look and feel and world of Borderlands to be exact. But obviously, in casting it, there's certain people for certain roles that aren't going to match the game, and that's okay because the movies are a separate thing. He goes, think of it the way Marvel splits their games and the movies and their comics. Just we're splitting it, and this is the first time we're doing it. Claptrap has to look exactly like Claptrap in the game, but the studio's going to want a star to get it, and we're very lucky to get Jack Black, who's a big fan of the game. But Randy was with us on set, so anything I wanted to change, he was right there with me. And Gearbox opened up their library to us. They gave us all of their files on everything. So all of the sets, all of the art department, all of the guns, every little Easter egg, we got to put it all into the movie. So it was pretty incredible that when you have the creator right there with you, watching him nerd out on set. We're the same age, and he's very much like a big kid as well, as in addition to being a genius. So it was great to have Randy there with us on set. We're just like having a blast.
Gotcha. Anything next for you, man?
Thanksgiving too.
Oh, all right. Hey, I was a big fan when the short first came out and a long time ago, but and then I got to see the full version of Thanksgiving, and man, you're doing some stuff that I absolutely adore. So it's a pleasure to talk to you today, man.
Great to talk to you too, man.
Check out Borderlands. It's now in theaters. Eli Roth, thanks for joining me this morning, my friend.
Thank you.
And that's it for New Mexico Rising. I want to thank you for tuning in, checking out the show. If you actually want to be on the show, just email me. That's newmexicorising@gmail.com. We're on social media. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram. Just look up New Mexico Rising Television. Plus, if you go to our website, newmexicorising.com, we have books from some of the authors. They send them to us. We can give those to you for free. All you got to do is pay for shipping. If you don't want to miss a show, we upload them every single week to YouTube. Just look up @NM Rising. Make sure you like, comment, share, or just completely ignore the shows there. Just subscribe. It helps us out a little bit. Until next week, that was New Mexico Rising.